welcome to episode 11 of the Hobo Show. I promised myself that I would be really forthcoming with everything that happened in the lead up to the makeover, whether it be good, bad, or ugly. So here goes. In our last prep event for the makeover, which was last weekend at the Virginia Starter Trials at the Virginia Horse Center, I had what I thought would be just one last easy final cruise around, a little event before the makeover. And it didn't go all that well. It wasn't terrible, but it certainly could have been a lot better, and it did not instill me with the most confidence leading up to the makeover. So I feel like Hobo has been carrying a lot of extra tension lately, and normally if I didn't have a deadline, I would just give him a couple weeks off and then pick him back up again. But unfortunately, we do have this makeover as a deadline, so I have sort of been throwing the kitchen sink at him, so to speak, to try to figure out how I can alleviate some of his tension, and I'll discuss some of that in just a second. So again, I wish that Hobo was going as well as he was in the middle of last summer, like July or so, when he was just cruising along and being all relaxed about life. And he still is relaxed in the show atmosphere, just not when we go into the ring. He's been carrying some tension. So I don't know if it's a physical, it's a manifestation of some kind of physical thing, or if it's just him being a bit more intense because he's just a lot more fit right now. But I'm trying to manage it both through his diet and his training, and just sort of do the best I can with the limited amount of time that we have left to get ready for the makeover. So one thing that I thought might be a probable cause that I could potentially treat to alleviate some of his tension would be gastric ulcers. Now, I haven't had Hobo sculpt for ulcers, but I went ahead and started treating him for them regardless, because it can't hurt. So I've been treating him with some omeprazole. And hopefully in 2 weeks, if he does have ulcers, that should feel a little bit better by the time we get to the makeover. Also, someone that I really respect in this area, another professional, highly recommended this NuPaFeed stuff. It's this liquid magnesium supplement that comes in tubes, and that helps alleviate stress and tension, supposedly. So I haven't tried that yet, but I look forward to trying it with Hobo and seeing if either of these things help. Also, I have been trying to practice riding him long and low, trying to get him to push from the hind legs and reach forward into the bit, and that's just one of our areas that need improvement. He just gets a bit tight in his back and doesn't want to come through and reach for the bit.
So here we are coming down the center line at the Virginia Starter Trials, and you can see that he's just not really, he has this really nice tempo, but he's just not really coming through, and he's not really on the bit. He also does this weird little head tilting thing, which you'll see here in a minute right there. So I'm not really sure where that came from or why it was happening, but it's sort of part of how he demonstrates that tension that I was talking about. And then the canter transitions, he's just behind my leg. He seems really not willing to step forward and through. So that's something that we'd been working on all summer, and it seemed to be getting better, and then all of a sudden it wasn't getting better anymore. Believe it or not, that left canter transition was better than the right one, which is coming up soon. The diagonals are actually surprisingly one of his better movements. And then here we are making a 20-meter circle at the trot. And then here's coming up on the right lead canter transition, which is pretty terrible. So, and then the canter itself is actually half decent, but that canter transition, it's just really behind my leg and above the bit, and not what I want. Here's his free walk, which is typically his best movement, and actually it starts off really well here, but then he gets a little lackluster about halfway through, gets a little bored. He's like, yeah, I think I'm done with this. But luckily, the quality of his walk is pretty fantastic in general, so we can fudge it a little bit. But there's that head tilt again. And the judges definitely do not like that. And then again, little head tilt above the bit. And the final halt is actually, while being not totally square, it was half decent. Here we are in the show jumping, and you get to bear witness to his gazelle on crack move. That's where he gets really bouncy right in front of the jump. And then any distance that I possibly have from his, what otherwise would be a nice rhythmical canter, just goes straight out the window. He just gets really bouncy, really unrideable. I try to put my leg on him or take a feel for a half halt. He's just super duper reactive. So this is some of that tension that I was talking about earlier. And it's just something that I really wasn't exactly sure how to manage. Now, he does the same thing on cross country. And I think, honestly, he's just so incredibly enthusiastic about his job. He loves it so much. He's just so excited. But we want him to chill out a little bit.
What are you doing, you funny guy? So funny. Oh, he's hungry. He wants his dinner.
In addition to removing alfalfa entirely from his diet, starting the NupaFeed liquid magnesium and the omeprazole, I changed a few other things too. So there was a lot of changing variables. One of which was I removed my spurs and I changed his bit from a sharper bit to a bit that has a little bit more leverage. And this is at plain dealing at schooling jumper rounds. And you see that I'm landing and making a circle, and I'm being coached during this video by my coach Kiki. And since this is a schooling jumper round, she said, why not just actually use it to school him? So land and turn until he lands softly, and then he can go to the next jump. While he's still tense here, he's way more rideable than he was in the previous video. So one or multiple of the variables that I mentioned seem to be working. The goal is that he can keep that same canter tempo all the way down to the jump. But see there, he gets bouncy again. And when I say bouncy, what I mean is that he just has more up and down movement rather than forward. I just want him to flow softly forward.
Circle. Yeah, do a little flat work for a second. Yeah, just soften your hip. Good girl. Connect left side. Softly connect left side. Circle. Yeah, circle.
And you'll see that I'm doing a lot of circles here because anytime he gets tense and up and down instead of flowing softly forward, Kiki tells me to make a circle and ride my flat work a little bit. And that really seems to be working here.
Good. All right. Good. Let him walk.
Hobo just had his last shoeing before the makeover. Yes. And his feet look fantastic. Look at those little feet. Girls, what do you think, girls? What do you think? Do you think Hobo's feet look good? Yes. Do you think they look good, Maggie? She said they tasted good when they were coming off. Oh yeah. Yum.
So at this point, Hobo is as ready as he's going to be for the makeover. And some might say that changing so many different variables in such a short amount of time is not a controlled experiment, which is totally true. And how am I going to know which one made a difference? And really what it comes down to is that it doesn't matter. As long as something is making him feel better, then it's worth doing.